und beim Turn kommt nur noch 2, Vorsicht bei der Einfahrt.
You made it.
I'm totally getting it. Look at that.
Hey everyone, my name is Zach. I'm a 22-year-old competitive boulderer from Canada, currently living near Frankfurt, Germany. Welcome back to the COMPCLIMB training series, where I record all of my training, provide in-depth analysis of every session, and just chat about climbing with an emphasis on competition. If you enjoy the series, feel free to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. It really helps out a ton. In today's episode, we are back at ELEMENT Boulders in Munich. Me and Maddie were visiting some family in Munich, so it gave us an excuse to kind of visit this gym again. We were here like about 3 weeks ago or something, and so I was like kind of expecting not too many like new sets in the gym, but when I walked into the gym, I was surprised at how much of the gym had been reset. Like, it's a massive facility, as you've seen maybe from like our previous videos, but there were a lot of new boulders. I was really excited, and when I was scoping out the boulders today, what I would notice is there were like a whole lot of 7 slabs. So the grading is the same as Studio Block here. It's 7 tag is the hardest grade, and they had so many 7 tag slabs, and I was really excited. Like, it's especially like, of course we've been living in Germany for quite a while now, like 6 months or something, but we've kind of been going back and forth from Canada and for some competitions and like visiting family, and so I've still kind of got this deep-rooted idea in me that, you know, really good quality slabs are hard to come by, because what will happen in the Canadian gyms a lot of the times is there'll only be like one or two like super hard slabs that are going to be comp style and provide like a nice challenge. And that's maybe one of the biggest differences from North America and Europe, is that Europe has a lot more slab, I find. So I'm still just like, I get excited every time this happens, like when we just have a surplus of slabs to work on, especially in like just one session in one gym. It's pretty amazing. So those first couple 7s were like the only physical ones or the only like super cool physical ones that I wanted to get on for the session. There were definitely some other hard looking physical 7s up in the gym, but they were kind of consisted of some basic climbing. Like a couple of the basic 7s were actually still up from the last time I was here that I didn't get on. Just some like simple holds, like crimpy boulders or something that, and like I said before, I like to really maximize our time when we're at a gym that's not close to home, and make sure I get on the most comp style looking boulders, or the boulders that are kind of unique to the gym and I won't get a chance to kind of work on. So we definitely want to get on like the fancy boulders while we're here. And so this is the first of the many slabs that we're going to try in this session. This one was on their comp wall. I think it's their comp wall, at least. I think I've heard, yeah, I think there are like some signs saying it's their comp wall, but honestly the whole gym is a comp wall. They maybe have like 1 or 2 boulders that are kind of like a step up in terms of comp style on this wall, but they do a good job of setting some awesome boulders all throughout the gym. But anyway, this one was a really cool boulder. When I was looking at it, I didn't think it looked too hard. I thought these volumes were just going to be easy to stand on and kind of grab with your hands as well. But it turned out to be a lot harder than I thought. When I was like, the start holds are pretty positive, and so I thought, okay, maybe it's like a bit of a run across. Maybe it's not actually supposed to be static. But then as soon as I got on the boulder, it definitely didn't look like a run across. The first volume that you're stepping on it's pretty okay, but the tricky part is that the hand is actually pretty bad. It's quite slopey to grab, and so it's like really mostly in your feet, which is good. And for a long time, I'm like I have this idea that I want to kind of use my left foot to cup the volume and squeeze it between my feet so I can stand up and balance, and then stand over to the handhold and the next foot with my volume after I've already stood up first. Then you can see, as I'm kind of figuring it out and working the bait a bit more, I'm realizing that the hand that I'm going to is a bit closer than I think, and it actually works to go to it first and try and snake the foot over after. And I eventually find the sequence where I think it's on this right here. I find the sequence where it's actually better to, and I actually had a bit of an epiphany on this boulder actually. Something that And when I say I had an epiphany, it's actually funny. A lot of times I'll say to myself or say that I have an epiphany during a session, but it's something I've already learned, it's something I've already known in the past, and it's kind of a tool that I thought that I already had in my toolkit. But sometimes it's easy to forget these tools and they fade, and that's why, especially when we're leading into a comp, it's important to get a lot of variety of boulders and like just lots of different styles in, because often what it will do is it will remind you of tools that you already have in your toolkit that you've maybe forgotten. And so I kind of had I relearned something that I've kind of talked about in the past with some training partners, and like a technique we've already learned, which is it's kind of a difficult one to describe too, like because I know what it feels like, and I know kind of already have this idea in my head. It's like very obvious to me, but basically what it is with this kind of move where you have like a foot that you're standing on with 2 feet, and you're like kind of trying to match your foot and snake another foot out to the side while you're kind of arched in this position. Is kind of, I'm like basically just describing this move that we're seeing on the wall, but it's almost like a kind of a rule of thumb for this sort of move. Basically, when you want to snake your leg out to the side, but you can't really lean over because maybe, let's say you have a side pull with this hand instead of something to press on, and you need to kind of keep your weight going towards the opposite side that your foot is supposed to be shifting in, the best way to go about this is to make sure that the foot that you're standing on during this process is actually has the top of your foot facing in the opposite direction that your leg is going. So basically what I realized in order to do this move was I needed to cross my right foot through and make sure the top of it was kind of facing away, right? Instead of having, here, let's say this is my foot, right? Instead of having my foot facing this way while I'm trying to snake this foot out, that's not gonna help keep my body leaning to the other side while I try to do this. So you can see here my right foot, as I cross it through, I kind of try and point the top of my foot in the opposite direction that my leg is sticking out. And what that does is it helps create the direction, kind of moving in the opposite direction, and helps me lean and maintain my balance, especially because I only have a side pull with this, right? And I have to get some opposition. Whereas like, let's say I was pressing on it, it would be the opposite. Now my foot wants to kind of oppose the direction like this. But because it's a side pull, I want to oppose the direction by pushing so I can pull, and that creates a stable position and allows me to snake my foot over to the next volume, because it's also pretty bad and I have to weight it really carefully. Like let's say this hand was really good and the foot was really good, it's a different story. I could maybe just go about it a bit faster and it would be less complicated, but obviously that's not the case. And so I guess it's not like I don't have a difficult time describing why this move works, but I guess I have a difficult time describing why you can almost use this as like a tool and put it in your toolkit and use it as like a rule of thumb. But yeah, basically the idea is you got to really think about how to create opposition, and especially when I have a side pull in my left hand and I'm trying to pull, I want to be able to push and create like stability in my like center of gravity, and in order to do that I need to turn my foot. Instead of it facing this way, I need to make it face like this so I can press like this and get the opposition like this. But at the end of the day, like to kind of make all that sort of complicated idea a bit simpler, when you have that sort of sequence with your foot, really make sure you play around with the direction that your foot is facing. Because in that situation, my foot was facing like this a lot of times and I was struggling, and as soon as I turned it like this, it was night and day and I could do the move easily. And it's a very easy thing to overlook. It's not just about like if you're sinking into your calves or if you're on the ball of your foot, it's also about the direction that your foot is. And so that was the trick for that boulder. That was a really good one to work on. And I guess I forgot to mention in that last boulder as well, you saw that I sent the boulder and then I did it again. And that's because obviously it took me quite a few tries to do. It was like quite the process to work that boulder and eventually send it. But then once I did it, and like I said, I had the trick and it was just like night and day, it was super, super easy. And so I went and did it again right away, no problem, with the right beta. And I just kind of wanted to demonstrate that, like just how it was just all in the body position. So that was cool. That was a fun stop to work and kind of help remind me of a tool in my toolkit that I had forgotten about. And so we moved on to this boulder, another 7. Cool little jump across with a dyno in the middle, and then a really funky ending. The hold that's over the lip on the top left there is dual tech side up, so it was really hard to grab, and you could see I was struggling to figure out the ending there. the setters at the gym have actually done this a bit recently, where they're playing around with the dual techs side of the holds up, and they're really making you learn how to use dual techs. Like there was that purple boulder that we were trying a while ago, and we actually tried in the second session of today as well. That they have some dual tech side up that makes the boulder really hard, and it's been a good experience to learn how to use that. But in that last boulder we just did, I kind of ended up, I think, breaking the beta a bit and just mantling over it and skipping it. So yeah, I had to cheat that one. Anyway, we're moving on to this boulder here. Another very cool slab. Like you can see that these slabs are not only hard, but they're all like really good quality. Nice fancy holds, fancy moves, a lot of fun. This boulder in particular was a really nice boulder, really nice slab. You could just copy and paste, see this in any sort of event, and I think it would actually suit me. This boulder actually features like kind of a slab skill that I find I'm good at. Two slab skills actually. One being this position here I'm in with my kind of like frog, like sort of hip position. That's like a really strong position for me, and it's funny. This position actually, this strength actually runs in the family. My brother Nate has really strong hips, and anytime we can like sort of compress the volume like that between our feet and like really weight the hips like that, me and him are both really excel in this position, and we have like a lot of strength and find some good balance there. So I always feel super comfortable when I'm in that position. I love it when we have a sort of move like that in a competition. And then another strength was me kind of using my heel there. And so you saw that I was kind of on my heels to compress that volume and sort of do this stand across, and I was even still weighting my heel as I had to do that precarious like foot shimmy up the volume to match the foot in order to move it out to the left so I could do the transition. I find that's another good skill of mine, is being able to weight my heel for longer than you would normally want to. Like in that sort of position, you'd think you want to be on your toe for that, right? Because your heel is not like as strong in that position. But that's kind of a strength of mine that I find, especially in these shoes as well. I've gone back and forth between wearing these Scarpa Instincts that like I'll say again, I'm not sponsored by Scarpa. This is kind of like my opinion, and just I don't know, like a little tip about these shoes is this is the best heel I've ever had on a shoe that I've ever used. It's got such a good torque, and I find that I can really use it creatively in a lot of boulders. And an example of this is that last boulder we just did. In that sort of position, the heel is really strong, and I find it provides a lot of stability, and it's really sticky too. I find that's why I've learned to use my heel really well and really creatively in these shoes, and it's a strength of mine, I find. So anyway, we're doing another really cool slab 7 to finish off this session. A cool little jump across, and then a hard dyno. I had to because this is kind of in like a tunnel, I had to do like the wide angle, and so it was funny, like the jump across to the sloper doesn't look very big in this video, but it definitely looks a bit bigger in person. You got to jump like all the way to the side, and the sloper's pretty bad, so it took a few tries to stick that move. But yeah, that was a cool boulder. So that wraps up our first session. This is another 2-part video. This was our morning session of just like an hour of bouldering. You can tune in to tomorrow's episode to see our second session, where we still have a few more slabs to tick off and a couple other boulders as well.